cell phone. Every kid has a cell phone. The question today, should cell phones be banned in the classroom? Got Tara Houle standing by to discuss. Have a listen to UBC psychology professor Shimi Kang here. She believes cell phones are bad in the classroom. Here's what she has to say.
Cell phone use in general is linked to increasing rates of anxiety, depression, body image disturbance, sleep deprivation, reduction of social skills, including the most basic of empathy. We see problems with even neck and posture and back pain.
Okay, well, if you talk to a lot of teachers, and I've talked to many of them too, they'll tell you that kids also just do poorly and they're unfocused if they have access to their phone in class. So here's the question today. Should cell phones be banned in the classroom everywhere in British Columbia? Let's discuss now with my guest, Tara Houle. Tara is an education advocate, and I'm very pleased to welcome her back. Tara, thank you for coming on today.
Oh, you're welcome, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet. I appreciate it. And we take a look at what's going on at Belmont Secondary School near Victoria on the island. They have brought in some tightened up cell phone rules here now. So when a kid at that school enters a classroom, you must put that phone away. There'll be a basket at the front of the classroom. Put your phone in there for the duration of the class. Or you got to keep the phone zipped up in your backpack. You're not allowed to use the phone during class. Do you think that is the rule? That rule should be. Do you support that rule? Do you think it makes sense?
I 100% support this rule. In fact, I think it should go a little further, that they shouldn't even be allowed on school grounds. But I think this is a really valuable first step, because anybody that suggests that cell phones have a place in the classroom really isn't serious about educating our youth. They have no understanding about how a child learns or how distracting phones and screens are. And teachers should not be the ones that should be policing this. This should be an all-out, district-wide ban, if not a province ban.
Yeah, and right now it seems like we have a bit of a patchwork of rules. Like some school districts have rules that, okay, you're not allowed to look at the phone during class unless you're getting it's an emergency or something like that, of course. But other schools don't seem to have very many rules at all, right?
Right, yeah. So why is that? I mean, we have a province just announced a couple weeks ago that they're going to put in, a couple $1 million to a food program in schools, which really has, when you can consider that versus, the social well-being and the distraction that cell phones bring, to the classroom, where's the priorities here? And it would take nothing for the province just to mandate that cell phone use be banned. Just we've seen, recently in other news in Quebec, they've done a province-wide ban. Ontario has somewhat of a ban, not allowing, cell phones in the classroom. That's up to the teacher's discretion. And what are we waiting for here in BC?
Yeah, and you take a look at some other countries as well. Like in France, ban cell phones in the classroom there years ago.
Right, and they've done that in Spain. And, even further, there were studies done, maybe even like 7 or 8 years ago. It was conducted by, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. And basically what they just found out is that the study shows that there's no single country in which the Internet is used frequently at school by a majority of students where students' performance improved. But besides that, the other reason that, we have to really take a really hard look at why cell phones need to be out of schools is the fact that it also distracts from good behavior in the classroom. It leads to increased bullying. And the biggest thing that parents really need to hone in on is that they become addicted to screens. Now, is this healthy for kids? My answer is no.
Yeah, those are some great points. Speaking of Tara Houle, education advocate, should cell phones be banned in all BC classrooms? Let's listen to some more from UBC psychology prof Shimi Kang here. And she's a big supporter of, she feels the same way as you, Tara, on this, that cell phones should not be available to kids in class. Here's what she has to say.
Studies show that when cell phones are banned or limited, we see improved attention, we see better grades, we see better sense of school community. Teachers are less frustrated in general.
Yeah, and we're going to open the phone lines here after the break, and I hope we hear from some teachers, because I would love to hear from teachers on this, how they feel about this. Now, she makes the argument there, Tara, that studies have shown that kids just do better in class. They do better in school when they don't have that phone.
Every single study will show exactly the same thing as what what she's been saying. There's nothing that shows the positive impact of cell phones in the classroom. So why do we have them there?
Okay, well, I mean, we all have phones these days, and we're all kind of, I don't know, a lot of people are, I'm looking at mine all the time. I admit it.
Yeah.
And, you know.
You're a grown-up.
Well, yeah,
and I'm a grown-up, and we're dealing with preteen brains as well as teenage brains, and the research is in about how detrimental this really is. So again, it's something that we can make that excuse for maybe for ourselves. And to your point, we can't stop looking at them. So how could we possibly expect a child to stop looking at them throughout the course of the day? And this is where the grown-ups really do need to take charge and insist that when it comes to learning, there's no place for them in schools.
Okay, now your point about that you would even go further with a ban on school property in general.
Right.
I imagine, I think the ban in the classroom is reasonable and makes a lot of sense. But what about between classes at lunchtime, or you got to phone your parents or to come pick you up at school, whatever the case may be? I mean, every kid has a cell phone these days, and I think they need the phone. I don't know. Why do you think it should be banned on school property, period?
I don't know why a preteen needs a cell phone. We also have a lot of phones at the school office. And quite frankly, if a child is in school, there's no reason why anybody needs to contact them because they're in school. It's incredibly disruptive to a child through the course of the day to be interrupted with the constant pings on their phone. And let's be honest, we have all forms of, poor behavior, which is now, out of control, with these kids, because of the fact that we have the anxiety is going through the roof, the bullying is going through the roof. Porn addiction is a huge issue right now with teenagers as well as preteens. That's going through the roof. So there's really no pluses here about having them in the schools, period. But as I said earlier, I think that's something that we should probably look at doing long term. I think that if we had at least some form of a ban, keeping them out of the classrooms, I think that's a great first step.
Okay, well, we're certainly seeing a trend in that direction. Tara, thank you for coming on today.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mike.
Okay, you bet. Tara Houle there, education advocate. I always appreciate her input and her thoughts on these issues. Here's what we'll do. Take a break, come back, open the phone line. So phone me on this one now. What do you think? I would love to hear from teachers on this. If you're a teacher, please call me. Tell me if you think that cell phones are a distraction in your classroom. What are the rules in your classroom? What do you think the rules should be around cell phones in schools in BC? Should they be banned in all classrooms in the province? Please let me know. 604-280-9898 is the number to call. Star 9898, toll free on your cell. You heard Tara make the argument there. Well, why not go even further, ban cell phones on school property, period? I think that would be taking it pretty far. Let me know what you think on that, too. Star 9898 is the number on your cell. This is Mike Smyth. Back with your calls.
It's what's happening right now. This is the Mike Smyth Show.
Okay, it's interesting to see this one high school near Victoria bring in some tightened rules and restrictions on cell phones in the class. So this particular school, when kids enter a classroom, they'd be required to put their cell phone in a basket at the front of the class, or they have to make sure the phone is zipped away in a backpack where they can't get at it, or leave it in their locker so they are not distracted during class by cell phone. Do you think that should be the rule everywhere in BC? A cell phone ban in the classroom everywhere? Phone me and let me know, okay? Star 9898 is the number on your cell. 604-280-9898 is the number to call. 604-280-9898. Barb in Cloverdale. Hi, Barb.
Oh, hi, Mike. I'm going to say I'm not a teacher, just a mom of three. And I would say, yes, absolutely have regulations as like phones, like ringers off, stay in your backpack, put them in a basket at the door. Whatever your classroom rule is, great. But I think to say ban altogether is too simplistic. You've got kids that have special needs. My son has really high anxiety. It's based on school-based trauma. And if he did not have access to, like saying, texting me or calling me during the school day to get him calmed down, then we'd have a bigger problem. And if somebody's going to come back and say, well, there's support in school, there's counselors, those people are all oversubscribed, the EA hours are cut, the counseling hours are cut, so there's no mental health support in school. So if you can for mental health support.
Thank you, Barb. Your call is breaking up there a little bit, but we got most of it there for sure. And I think you raised some great points. And I tend to agree with you. I mean, I've got kids in school too. Of course, they've got cell phones. Sometimes they will text during the day while they're at school. So yeah, I can see plenty of circumstances where a phone really is required for a kid and for the parent too. But I do tend to think that some sort of restrictions in the classroom, that makes sense to me. Alex and Ladner. Hi, Alex. What do you think?
I'm 100% in favor of banning from the classroom. I'm a teacher. I'm just actually parked outside my school going in for the first day today. And I'm not going to go through the list of things that you can do or that are distractive. One thing I support about the lady saying banning them from the school grounds is, I know it's almost impossible and won't happen, is kids are running around taking pictures of each other. And it's a school policy where you can't take pictures of people on, that went back and was really enforced heavily earlier on. And they've kind of gotten away from it. And sometimes if you take a picture and then you can send a picture and that picture can get passed on, passed on and passed on and passed on. That would be one thing that bothers me about cell phones on the school grounds. But having said that, it's pretty hard to enforce or get parents to buy into that.
What is it? Hey, Alex, I'm really glad that you called in. What are the rules in your school in the classroom? Like, can kids look at their phone in class?
It's patchwork because we have some teachers who are really techie people, and they want their kids to have the phones, to use the phones as part of the curriculum. And then, so, you don't have sort of an overall kind of plan as how to deal with it. My classroom, it goes into a basket. And it goes into a basket at the start of the day, comes out of the basket. They pick them up at the end of the day. And if they need to make a phone call home, they can go down to the office. And what do the kids think of that? Any of your kids complain about it? No, they're pretty good.
Okay.
I've got some that go behind my back, and I've caught them. And I've threatened to take away the phone for the night, and that's like, I can't do that, but I'm scaring that, but generally, they're pretty good about it.
Yeah. Alex, thank you for the call. I appreciate it. Diane in New West. Hi, Diane. Go ahead.
Hi. I'm a retired school teacher and love the idea of the high school on the island of what they're doing, but it's flawed in that kids are still connected via, whether it's their watches or other means, that they can still be doing all of the things that they're doing on their phone. Some can anyways. And that I think missing the point of teaching them when it's appropriate and not appropriate to be using it. But I do know, at high school, cheating is a major, major issue when kids have their cell phones available, but it still happens via their watches.
Wow, okay, great point, Diane. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Lewis in Horseshoe Bay. Hi, Lewis. Go ahead. You got a minute here. Go ahead.
It's Louise. I'm retired school principal, and I don't believe in a worldwide ban in BC on cell phones because there's too much gray in the world. Just like your first caller pointed out, I agree with the pictures on the school ground. That is pretty bad. But, okay, so one teacher allows it because they're techie and they're using it and it's a tech course. The school just needs to develop a policy around it. I mean, let's have some common sense here.
Do you think it should be up to the individual teacher?
I think as a school, they need to decide together what it's going to be. In certain subject areas, the phone is used for the curriculum, and in other areas, it stays in the backpack or the basket. But
Louise,
for heaven's sake, not the locker, because they get broken into all the time.
Oh, that's a good point. Louise, thank you for the call. Appreciate all the calls on that one. That's an interesting issue we'll follow for you here going forward here. There are calls for wider restrictions on cell phones in schools. Thanks for all the calls. Take a break here at the bottom of the hour. When we come back, the housing market in Metro Vancouver, forget about buying a place. Most people can't afford that now. What about rents? Rents going through the roof. How are we going to fix this? Is there an answer? That is next. Don't go anywhere.